Welcome to the Getting Started with the CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6 training series. This series is being put together for those of you that do not know CorelDRAW, have very little experience with it, or have never used it before. Over the next few hours of training, we're going to go over the fundamentals or the basic. We're not going to go in depth. We're going to give you the information you need to get started with CorelDRAW. In other words, to go from knowing nothing about the application to being able to do some t-shirt design work, to being able to do some production artwork. This series is really geared toward those that are in the apparel industry and the sign industry, the small businesses of screen printing, direct-to-garment, signs, engraving, etc. will benefit from the training in this series. To get started, I want to go ahead and take a look at some of the things that we want to adjust in CorelDRAW before we start using it. You'll notice that when I'm working in Draw, you'll see me zooming in and zooming out a lot. And the reason is because there's a zoom tool over here, but if we have our mouse wheel or a wheel on our mouse, we can zoom in and zoom out no matter what tool we're working with, just by pulling back on our mouse wheel and pushing forward. Now sometimes when I'm working around in my workspace, getting back to things is a little difficult because there's a setting in options that I like to have turned on. We'll go and check that out now. We'll go to Tools, we'll go to Options. Now once we're here in the Options dialog box, we'll want to expand Workplace by left clicking on the plus sign. Come down to Toolbox, click on that, and then come down to Zoom Pan Tool. We'll want to select Center Mouse when zooming in with the mouse wheel and select OK. Now my objects are going to center when I zoom in on them. So I can have objects all over my workspace. For example, if I have this object over here and this object over here and I'm zoomed in here and I want to get over to that object, I'll simply come over and then zoom in here and I'll be able to get right into my graphic. Saves me the time of going back and over and clicking on the zoom tool all day, clicking in and clicking out. Another setting that I like to turn off is that of snapping, and the reason is because I work with Bezier and objects and I've got things on top of each other all the time, and for me snapping, while I do use it occasionally, is really something that kind of pulls my Bezier tool around and my objects around and snaps them to each other, and it doesn't give me the precise control over where I'm laying down nodes and lines and things like that I like to have. I end up fussing with it quite a bit. So I'm going to go to Tools, Options. I'm going to go ahead and collapse the toolbox. I'm going to come here to Snap to Objects, and I'm going to select Deselect All, and I'm going to select OK. Once that's done, the next thing I want to look at is the workspace here in CorelDRAW. And by default, in CorelDRAW, all of the toolbars are locked. So I'm going to come up here and right click on a toolbar and come down here and uncheck Lock Toolbars, and you'll see some change in my workspace. And you can see these little handles of dots have appeared on all of my toolbars. Well, I can left click on those and move my toolbars and customize my toolbars in my workspace as long as they're unlocked. So we want to have that unlocked, because if we want to move a toolbar, we can't do that when the toolbars are locked. Next, we'll go ahead and start taking a look at the actual workspace in CorelDRAW. Over to the left here, you'll find your color palettes. Now we'll go ahead and grab the handle right up here at the top, left click, and drag this out into our workspace. You can see that we can move color palettes. And color palettes have the spectrum of colors that are available in that color palette. And we want to be able to move these around in our workspace just so we can manage them and work with them as we want to. And you see I just drag that down to the bottom. And I can also left click here and I can change the size of the palette or the way it's set up in my workspace, and I can scroll through my colors here. I'm going to go ahead and left click and we'll move this back over to the right. Next to our color palettes we have our dockers, and you can see these two little arrows here, expand docker, and I'll click on that, and here we have hints, and here we have our object manager, which gives us information about the objects that we have set up in our graphic workspace. Up here at the top we have a ruler, and we have another ruler coming down here along the side. Down here at the bottom we have our pages, and we can add pages simply by right clicking here, and you can see rename page, insert page before, duplicate page, delete page, switch page orientation, publish page to concept share, and you can't see those, but those are some alternate options. We can also add pages by clicking here on the plus sign, and now I have page 2, and then I can navigate through my pages with the buttons or the tabs down here with the arrows. Beneath our pages we have what is called the status bar in CorelDRAW, and that gives us information about what's going on in our workspace and also about the object that we have selected. For instance, if I have a rectangle and I create that and select it, it tells me what color fill it has. It also tells me what color outline it has. If I change that to a red fill, just left click on a color palette, now I know what color that is. There's also options here for proof colors off and proof colors on. We have some different information available down here. Color information, information about selected tool. And we can go here and it says, I change that selected tool. It says page frame, etc. See, the object is a rectangle on layer 1, and we get the coordinates or position of the object in the document. We can change that to object details also, and that will tell you what the width and height of your rectangle is and where the center point is. Next to that, we have over here on the left our toolbar, very important bar in CorelDRAW. We access a lot of tools here. Many of the different things that we work with, the features and functions of the application, will be found in the toolbar, and we'll be working in the toolbar extensively throughout this training series. Above the toolbar, you will find the properties bar, another very important bar. You'll want to pay careful attention to it. This bar changes based on the tools or objects that you have selected. For instance, if I come over here and click on the text tool, you'll see that the properties bar will change to the text properties bar. If I come and click on the Smart Fill tool, it'll change to the Smart Fill properties bar. So this bar is another location that you'll want to keep an eye on when you're working with your tools and objects, and you'll see how it changes, and it also gives you the options available for the tools and objects that you're working with while you're working in CorelDRAW. Above that, we have the standard toolbar, which is basically you can open a page or create a new page or save, print, cut, copy, paste, etc. And above that, we have our menu with File, Edit, View, Layout, Arrange, Effects, Bitmaps, Text, etc. all the way through to Help. And on the end, we have our advanced tools, and this is where we work with our Simple Steps, Design Base, and Fashion Factory plugins for CorelDRAW, which are software plugins we've developed to help us and our clients with their design work in the process of creating graphics for their clients. Simple Steps is color management and color separations. Design Base is a design automation plugin with several thousand pieces of clip art and design templates, and Fashion Factory is a tool for creating modern artistic, distressed, grunge, and design effects, mostly using monochrome or seamless tiles in CorelDRAW. And we'll take a look at all of these while we're going through the training series. Another thing I want to look at here is if you click off and have nothing selected, you're able to work with your page size, and we can see now that our properties bar has changed to no selection. And here it tells us what size our page is. And we can change that simply by rolling down and selecting another size, or we can create a custom size for our page, and I'll create a 13 by 19 page size here, which would be a standard size for an Epson 1100 workforce. And when I hit enter, that's going to change to my page. Now I had set up a page called Epson page, which is a custom page in my workspace previously before I did the tutorial series, but you could take this and go edit this list, and here we have Epson page, and I could go ahead and change that. I want to save this to say Epson, I'll say new Epson page, and I've got my caps locks on here. We'll go ahead and turn that off. New Epson page. And select OK, GE. New Epson page, OK, and now you can see that I've got this new Epson page, and I could come down here and select that as my page size, and I have 13 by 19. So now I've got a full front page set up if I'm going to be designing t-shirts in CorelDRAW. Now you can see when I move that back, it kind of displaced my standard toolbar, and I want to go ahead and move that back. So the way I'll do this, I'll go ahead and remove this, and sometimes it's a little tricky when you're moving these around, getting them to snap into the right place. I want this over here, and then I want this, left click, hold down until it gets right about there, and there we go. Now we've got it back in place. So we'll go ahead and wrap here on our introduction. We've set up our CorelDRAW workspace, and we've done a basic tour of the workspace and how to move around in CorelDRAW and how to create our custom page sizes. And we'll go ahead and continue in our next session.